Here we are with Dan Fortier, a senior from the swimming and diving team, also the SAAC president. I figured, in your own words, I would love for you to sort of run down all that you're involved with at St. Mike's.
Yeah, so I'm a senior on the swim team, captain of that with Peyton and Leah. I've been on SAC since my freshman year. I was the vice president my sophomore year, and then junior and senior year I was president. I'm involved with the NE10 SAC. This year I'm one of the vice co-chairs of the committee. I'm a peer facilitator for TBC. I'm tutoring this year for one of the math classes that I took last year. With that, I'm a math and data science major and business administration minor. And yeah.
Can you actually tell folks what TBC is, knowing that it's
Uh,
new and from its title alone, I don't know that folks know exactly what it is just yet.
yeah, so TBC is a sexual assault and dating violence awareness group. We're trying to educate, at the moment, student athletes on campus about what to look for like signs of sexual assault and dating violence and how to like educate them on prevention and keeping our campus safe, really.
Okay. In I tried to do research on you, even though I know you. Um, but just in revisiting your bio that we have for you and trying to remember, I guess, sort of who you were before you were at St. Mike's, even in looking at what you did in high school. We have you with, you're in the Key Club, bands, worked with Special Olympics, the Spin for Crohn's and Colitis Cures, um, Latin Sturdom and Quiz Team. I don't even know what that is, but that sounds pretty cool. Hyannis Youth Street Reach, things like that. I mean, obviously you were very involved in high school. When you were coming to St. Mike's, did you think, I'm going to be that involved at St. Mike's as well? Did you think, oh, maybe I'll sort of blend in and not really stand out or lead for a little bit? How did you get this involved at St. Mike's, and was this part of a plan?
Um, it definitely, I wanted to get involved up here. I didn't know how involved I was going to be, but community service is something that's always been really big to me. I like giving back to people who have given a lot to me. So the St. Mike's community has given me a lot of tremendous like opportunities of growth, and I love the community here, so I love giving back to it. Also, like Colchester and surrounding areas, I want to give back to them as well as much as possible. So I definitely I was asked to join SAC by one of our juniors before my freshman year started. And I thought that was a good way to get into like being able to work into getting into like community service and stuff. I definitely didn't know how much I would get into it by my senior year, but I was definitely hoping to be like a leader on campus and really kind of make sure that this campus is as great as it can be.
How did you sort of get elevated onto the NE10 level with that?
Um, I kind of just went out on wings, really. Freshman year, one of our social media coordinators left to go abroad, and there's an opening. And I remember I was at a swim meet, and I just texted Shannon, and I was like, "Hey, like, I'd be down to do this if it's okay with you." And the next day, we had a SAC meeting that I couldn't make because of the meet. She put in my word, and I ended up doing or taking over that for the rest of the semester, and that was kind of what led me to being like more involved with SAC and getting on the e-board my sophomore year. Yeah, so I kind of jumped in on that, not knowing what to expect, but I'm really happy with the results. For the NE10 SAC, Chris Kenny actually emailed me before practice, and I hadn't seen it yet. And I walked down on the pool deck, and Coach Hall just pulled me over, and she's like, "Do you see your email?" I was like, "No." She's like, "All right, go look, and you have to respond right now." I was like, "Okay." And so yeah, I went back up in the locker room, looked at the email, and he was asking if I wanted to represent St. Mike's, and of course, like I'd love to. So that's how I ended up on that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Shannon Bolhart being the SAC advisor, she's been doing it for a long time. You're in your second year as the SAC president, which is also quite. It sort of follows the fact that you're captain of the swimming and diving team. Can that's such an individual sport within a team scoring construct. And can you talk about how that all works? Like how you stay motivated for yourself, but you stay motivated during a meet for your teammates too?
Yeah. It's definitely a lot different than team sport, like regular team sports where you have like 10 people going onto a field or whatever. But it's really like, um, it started with high school swimming for me because if you go back to club swimming, there's not really team total points now of that. It's really just individual getting faster and getting better times. But in high school, I mean, you start with dual meets pretty much then in your swim career. And I fell in love with the fact of dual meets because you're not really like racing your teammates being like, I have to beat them just because I have to beat them, but you're racing them because you want to have high places so that your teammates get points and you win the race and the meet. So it's definitely a team aspect of it is like the cheering and everything. You have to definitely be behind everyone's lane and everything when they're swimming because that's really what kind of helps push them through the race, especially the hard races like the mile. Um, yeah, it's definitely different because I come from a background of where I played baseball most of my life, and I had the team camaraderie in that, and I didn't really know about the team camaraderie in swimming for most of my life. So, but yeah, I mean, our team does a great job with staying active during people's races and making sure we're present and all of that.
I want to ask serious questions, but I also want to ask like irreverent questions here. I mean, if you had any other sport you could play in college, that St. Mike's offers, don't say football or water polo or something like that. But I mean, if you had any other sport you could play, what would it be in your dream scenario?
It would definitely be baseball. I wasn't really great at any other sports that I picked up. I tried to play like everything when I was little, just because I was a very active kid who liked getting onto a like baseball field, soccer field, any of that. But definitely like I had the most fun playing baseball, which is why I ended up working for the Kettleers in the Cape Cod Baseball League. Was I kind of wanted a way of playing in the summer where I wasn't actually like on a team. I was just kind of like working on how to get better at what I was doing.
Yeah, what is that? Katuitt?
Yeah.
Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yep. Yep.
Okay, I must have heard it enough times that I have because otherwise I think I'd screw it up. Um, what you started as a bullpen catcher, you did other duties. How did that all sort of get going? And I love the fact that you were the bullpen catcher. Just I imagine you probably caught some guys who've gone on and continued playing at a higher level.
Yeah. So it actually started kind of funnily. There was an ad in our sandwich newspaper, and it was looking for another bullpen catcher because someone got hurt, and I think they broke their hand. So my dad showed me the article, and I kind of was like, let's give it a shot. I don't know how it will work or if I'll get it. And I arrived at the field, and they kind of looked at me, and they're like, "Are you okay with catching people?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think so." And got thrown in. First bullpen session was there just to kind of see if I'd be able to handle the pitchers. And I did decently. I mean, I wasn't amazing, but I was able to at least control the ball. And so I ended up talking to the general manager afterwards. He gave me the position for bullpen catching. And I lasted probably 6 games that year and broke my thumb on a curveball. Um, so that was the first year of my bullpen catching. And then I went back the next year because I was like, I won't break it again. Like, what can happen? That year was probably my favorite year because we had 3 pitchers that kind of made the bullpen life a lot of fun down there. 2 of them actually have started. One made his debut last year, and one made his debut 2 days ago, actually. So, yeah. But that year was a lot of fun. The year after that, I broke my thumb again. So, um, and then after the 3rd year, I decided to take a year off, and then I was interning with them as a game day intern where I would really like pass out flyers and all of that, give information to the fans about what's going on during the game and everything. And I was kind of used as an emergency bullpen catcher that year, which I didn't tell Coach Hall because I didn't know what she would feel like as a like incoming freshman, kind of going into a bullpen with people that are throwing 90 plus miles per hour.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I caught a few games there, and the next year I ended up being the general manager, MLB liaison intern, where I ended up working with MLB scouts and then our coaching staff with our team like players, trying to get them scouted, get them like looked at, and all of that.
I remember you sent me at one point a photo of you right next to the Green Monster at Fenway.
Yeah,
That must have been a thrill.
that was probably one of the best days of my life because I've grown up. I never actually went to a Red Sox game before that. So first time going to Fenway and you get to go on the field is incredible. And then I was able to go in the dugouts and all of that and take pictures from behind the like batting screen while our batters were up and getting like looked at by I think it was like Red Sox and Yankees that were kind of putting it on.
What's it like growing up down on the Cape? Because I imagine probably the other 8 or so months of the year when you don't have traffic backed all the way up to 93 and 95 or 495, it might actually be nice to be down there.
Yeah, I'm one of the outliers on the Cape who doesn't like swimming in the ocean. I'm freaked out about it and all the creatures that live in there. So beaches aren't really my thing. Ponds are kind of freaky to me too. But the other 8 years, it's not really like a lively place. Like it's pretty dead. But it's nice. It's pretty like chill.
Do you have any favorite spots down there?
Um, Definitely Katuitt's home park. I go there very often, and then the canal. I like to sit by the canal and do work usually.
Okay. Um, so as I guess just to make sure we hit upon a couple sort of recent topics, certainly in your return to campus, what have you seen? I guess it's silly to ask what's different about campus right now in the middle of a pandemic, but what have you seen that is different, just to let other folks know who might be listening to this, and I guess how have you seen the administration and the student body sort of trying to take charge and make sure that we can all be at college, especially the students.
Yeah. I mean, it's very, very different. I know, like first week, usually I'll be in the athletics building 24/7 almost when I'm not in classes and stuff, just because like that's where I feel comfortable most in is the athletics building, and not being able to go there is kind of like a downer, but I also totally understand why. Um, Classes being like in person and like hybrid classes definitely are a bit different, but it's also kind of nice to be like instead of being on a Zoom conference call with your class at home, being like on a conference call in your dorm with your like best friends right there with you. So that's definitely like a plus compared to last semester. Um, a lot of social distancing I've been seeing, which is amazing because that's what's going to really get us through and make sure that we stay here and have the possibility of a season or next semester. Um, Another weird thing is like usually we'd be able to meet with our teammates and stuff and the freshmen, make sure they're doing all right with classes and everything. And like not being able to meet in a big group is kind of tough with that. But yesterday we kind of had a captain's led call, making sure like their first weekend or first weeks went well and that they know what is really supposed to be happening this weekend to make sure that they're not like doing stuff they shouldn't be and making sure like everyone on the teams like knows what's up and knows like what to do if they see something that's going on campus that shouldn't be really.
Okay. I don't know that there's really a good segue into the other, certainly very something that's on, I think, everybody's minds around the country, but, is racial justice uh, initiatives. And as the SAAC president and also being involved with the Under-10 SAAC, I'm curious if there are any initiatives that you guys are planning on taking on or maybe discussions. I know you don't have your first SAAC meeting until tomorrow, as we're talking September 5th about this. But I'm curious if that's also on your all's minds as we get back to campus.
Yeah, it definitely is. We're planning a few things. First off is to kind of get our e-board more educated on the topic. And so we're going to have Margaret Bass speak to us as an e-board for a little bit and kind of just have a discussion with her about what we can do. Another thing is we're going to have a workshop with two of our admissions counselors on anti-racism work. And then like to move past just having discussions because like as much as that helps, that's not really doing anything to help and progress what's going on. we're going to have a week that's kind of planned with Hope Happens Here and TBC, where it's like kind of a day a week is a different topic. And one of the days will be diversity, inclusion, and equity. And in that day, we're going to probably put out a type of survey format to student athletes where we want to get their feedback about how they view our athletics department is doing in terms of DEI, and then what they think we can do better and what they think we're doing well, so that we're all like kind of knowing exactly what our student athletes want from us as a department to make sure that we're going ahead. And from that survey, we'll create a lot more initiatives on what exactly we're going to put into place and make sure like our campus is doing exactly what we can be.
That's wonderful to hear, and especially for just a campus in a state that is not incredibly racially diverse, trying to make it a welcoming community for everybody who wants to be here.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we like make sure that we hear as many voices as we can as we're making those decisions. So it's not like just the six of us on the e-board being like, oh, we think we should do this. Let's do this. Like, I think it's better to have a lot more informed like processes going into it as to what people think we lack right now.
So I guess the easy question as we sort of move backwards is, as you were looking at colleges, I mean, why did you look at St. Mike's and seeing all of the things you've accomplished here and been involved with? Maybe it's a little clearer to you now why St. Mike's, but why then? What was appealing to you about this place?
Um, Honestly, so my junior year, I got some mail in my mailbox. Um, Basically, it was promoting St. Mike's, and I hadn't heard of the college before then, so I was like kind of intrigued because it looked pretty on campus and all of that. So I ended up reaching out to Coach Hall, and I met her my junior year for the first time. Um, then my senior or the end of my junior year, I ended up getting the book award, so that kind of put it more on my radar that like I wanted to check it out more and make sure I know exactly what the campus is about before like I either write it off or I say I want to go here. So funnily enough, my new swim coach my senior year at my high school was a St. Mike's student athlete for I think 1 year, and I ended up talking to him a lot about my decision. He had nothing but great things to say about the school. I ended up taking a recruit trip and like hanging out with Seamus and Pat and Peyton, who's now my roommate. And I had a blast here. I could tell that the community was amazing here and that everybody was really pushing for everybody to do well, which honestly I didn't see on other campuses that I was looking at. And that kind of drew me there. And I definitely saw St. Mike's as an opportunity where there's a lot that you can do on campus to make sure that the community's better. And that I felt like a lot of the student athletes here follow that and make sure that they're making this campus as the best that they can possibly make it. So all of those kind of took into my decision. And then I met with the math department here, and all of the professors were amazing, really open to talking to me and emailing me throughout my senior year. So it really made my decision pretty easy my senior year of high school.
Knowing that we have the Purple Night Challenge coming up, the annual fundraising initiative that we ask alums and family members, community members, friends to contribute to the programs. All 21 programs combined to make about $76,000 last year, which is a huge chunk of change for each program. Not to put you on the spot, but if you were to have to give the best pitch you can think of off the top of your head, maybe as the SAAC president, not just for swimming and diving, but as the SAAC president, why it's important to engage all of these folks. Why St. Mike's Athletics? Why do we want them to help us? What would your pitch be, Dan?
I think honestly it would be just about like all of the stuff that our athletes put into place here on campus. Our athletes have created stuff like Hope Happens Here and TBC, which have been very successful and for very good causes. And I think that our student athletes really try to benefit everyone on this campus as much as they can, if they're an athlete or not. Like, we're trying to push to make sure they're having the best experience. And I know how much athletics means to all of our varsity sports teams. I know how hard each of our athletes work in and out of their season. So I think any money that we can get to keep us going and keep our programs up to the standard that they have been is amazing. And I'm very thankful for all of our alums who have been helping us out, because without them, we really wouldn't be able to have the type of programs we have on campus, I think. So, yeah.
That's good. This is very presidential. This is very like having known you since your first year. I've just seen you've become so much more comfortable with. I mean, you gave an interview last year during one of the NE10 Now broadcasts on basketball, and I went back and I listened to it and thought, Dan has really he's a junior now. He's really turned a corner, you know. So
Yeah.
well done.
Thank you.
Where the hair, I helped with some of the COVID check-in yesterday, and it was really great to see a lot of the student athletes. And some of them I could not recognize because either they had cut their hair when it used to be shaggy, or they had grown it out. And it was really cool to see that, okay, I had done that for a while, and then I said, I can't do that anymore. You haven't said I can't do that anymore. Clearly, where did all this hair come from, Dan?
Yeah, I haven't gotten a haircut since January, when we were, or actually December, I guess, before we came back for winter training for swim last year. Um, with COVID and everything, I didn't really want to go into a hair salon with IBD and everything. I just kind of wanted to push it off and like make sure that I wasn't in those like high risk areas or anything, or like close situations with people. So that kind of gave me an excuse to like grow it out. I wanted to grow it out for senior year anyways, just for the hell of it. Um, just for like headshots and memories and stuff. I remember Spencer, my freshman year, grew out his hair for senior year for a bit, I think.
I think you
Or it
also
was
might
junior
have a
year.
mustache.
Yeah, yeah. We usually do like facial hair for any 10, so I thought I'd keep this going. Um, yeah, just kind of have fun senior year. I mean, next year I'm either going to be in the real world or in grad school, and I have to definitely be a lot more professional then with how I look. So, kind of taking that last year of being like, I can grow out my hair and have fun with it.
If you weren't somebody who I already knew took life seriously, I'd be concerned about that comment that I don't really care how I look senior year. But no, it's funny because I'm seeing the goatee and I'm realizing I don't know that I've really seen you with facial hair.
Nope.
And as somebody who grew up on South Park, the episodes with, evil Cartman. Well, he wasn't the evil Cartman. The good Cartman was the alternate universe Cartman with the goatee and the facial hair. And it's just like seeing you like that now is just sort of, I like it. It's a good look. It's a good look.
Thanks.
But knowing that NE10s might not be until maybe April if all things work out, there's another couple months you don't have to worry about check.
Yeah, definitely have to cut it before then, because there's a lot of drag and I break a lot of caps anyway. So adding hair on is probably not going to help in that aspect.
You just hit two things I want to talk about. And I realize it's like 20 minutes into this interview, but let's just keep going because you mentioned the IBS thing.
Yeah.
And since you brought it up, I would love for you. I mean, are you willing to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so it's actually IBD. So IBS is a little bit, or actually pretty different. IBD is either ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. Technically, I'm in the middle of both of them. I have indeterminable colitis, so they don't know exactly what I have, if it's Crohn's or UC. They're leaning towards UC, which is basically meaning my colon has I can't talk today, ulcerations on it, and it can really affect both my like digestive system and just like my immune response in general. I tend to have white blood cells that won't actually attack what comes into my body, so they'll instead attack good cells and stuff. So I'm immunocompromised because of that. But yeah, I mean, it can make life kind of uncomfortable because it's also a disease that like it's invisible. No one can see it. So walking down the street, nobody knows that I have something like that. But also like some days I'll be perfectly fine and I'll be like, all right, like this is really good. And then some days it'll be like I wake up and automatically I'm feeling absolutely terrible, getting sick and all of that just from it and all of that. So yeah.
So during this pandemic, were you sort of extra careful? Well, not that it's over, but I mean, when you were back home, were you extra careful on sort of venturing out?
Yeah, I really tried not to. My mom's also very immunocompromised with different health issues. So we didn't go into any really like stop and shop or anything. We ended up getting like takeout groceries where they'd bring it out to the car because we didn't really want to risk that with both of us. Whenever we got home with the groceries, we would literally clean them up outside, like wipe them down, everything before bringing it in, just so we wouldn't bring in anything on like any surface or anything. Um, I didn't really go out walking around much. I would walk around my neighborhood because it's a very quiet neighborhood. Nobody's outside usually, but I wouldn't walk downtown. If I went to the canal to drive there, I wouldn't get out of the car, keep my windows up, make sure that I'm not like near anyone basically.
Are you guys in pods in your living situation right now too?
Yeah, so the way that it's set up for our practices when they resume is that we try to make sure that every roommate is with the roommates and a few others. So like we're with the five of us that live in our house together, and then a couple freshmen that live together, and a couple freshmen that live on their own, basically, to make sure that they're not having interactions or as few interactions with other pods as possible during that. So, like, say pod C gets something, pod B, in retrospect, shouldn't get it, hopefully. Or if they do, then like it shouldn't be as bad of a spread. Hopefully, it will manage it a little bit better.
You actually also mentioned something earlier about breaking caps. How many nicknames exactly do you have, Dan?
A bunch.
Sweet Dan.
Sweet Dan, Danny Dome, Danny Dork. Um, those are the three main ones.
Never heard Danny Dork. That's not incredibly nice.
Well, that was Pat and I when he was junior and senior here. We would talk about baseball stats, and that kind of came from that, basically.
Got it.
Yeah.
Pat Thornton, everybody. Pat Thornton. Um, well, let's see. I sort of want to be able to ask just, other questions like who you are, like your favorite movie, the last song you listened to, or do you like long walks on the beach or something like that? But I mean, I feel like we covered a lot here. Is there anything about you that people might be surprised to learn?
Um, I like country music. My teammates know that a lot. It's not very popular on the swimming deck, so don't get to listen to it much during practice. Although I follow a lot of like college sports teams, just random ones. So I follow Vanderbilt swimming and diving for some reason, and they listen to country every practice. So obviously some swim teams make it work. Um,
Note to your teammates in case
yeah.
they're listening. Yeah.
And I mean they're a pretty fast D1 team in the SEC, so country music must be helping a little bit. I'm not very good at watching TV shows. I'll usually end up watching like three of them, be like, oh, I really like this, and I won't touch it again and kind of forget about it. Same with movies. I'm terrible at watching movies. I think the only series I've watched fully is Harry Potter. Other than that, not good at watching stuff really.
And that's a long
But
series to actually follow all the way through. So kudos.
yeah, but it's kind of funny. So like I remember in like grade school and stuff, one of the questions they'd ask you at the beginning of the year was like, "What's your favorite TV show?" And all these kids would be like saying all these random TV shows, and I'd be like, "It's ESPN or Sports Center or whatever," because that's all I literally watched would be like sports highlights of the night before.
Yes. I had a shirt when I was growing up. Yeah, the old ad campaign in like the mid 90s. Oh boy. Mid 90s. It was, I think, I don't know if they still do it, but it was as simple as, this is Sports Center and just
Yeah,
splashed across the screen. Do they still do that?
they they kind of do. It's not like big anymore, but I remember like they'd have like mascots and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had a shirt that was just, gray with the red lettering. This is Sports Center. And it was funny because I was this nondescript, nerdy little kid growing up and nobody knew. And even some of the older kids would look at my shirt as I'm like walking down the hall. Oh, that's such an awesome shirt. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks. Yeah, that was I'm with you. As soon as I found ESPN, that's where you go before you go to school. You watch
Oh
highlights.
yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
Every morning when I'm having breakfast, I'd have that on. Be able to catch up on the Red Sox, how they did, or any of the Boston teams, really. So it was nice.
Man, and you've had some glory years as a Boston sports fan.
Oh yeah,
Is that a
Ray
Ray
Bork.
Bork? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's my dad's jersey. It's one of his favorite players.
Nice. Yeah, you've had a nice run.
Yeah,
Well, maybe not as much with the Bruins this year.
eh, they
But
did well. They made it to the playoffs. They played well. It's a very, very strange year, so can't hold them to anything really. I don't think.
yeah, I think we're all just fortunate that professional sports has even started back up, and
Yeah,
they've been trying to do it safely. Tennis has been great to watch too. I mean,
yeah,
they've been all over the place. I think they might have been the first set of professional athletes who are really trying to make it work.
yeah. They had that. I think it was in Australia that they had their first tournament where it was kind of like the test out of how like virtual like kind of like streaming would go with them and like having absolutely no one in the stands except for the referee.
Yeah, it's very different with no fans.
Yeah.
Hopefully, as you guys get back going in the spring, which is the plan, of course, for all of our sports. Hopefully, fans will be around, but I think there's a lot to still consider before we even get to that point.
Definitely.
I think a normal sort of radio broadcast or even a podcast, they would have some entrance music and some sign off music and know how to start and end this thing. I have no idea how to do that. So I think we're done. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye.
See you soon.